Right. Welcome, everyone. Are we ready for one more?
Not quite. I have to turn on closed caption. And then I have to hit. Really sorry.
All right, welcome everyone. This is a new seat for me today, and but Eric is sadly not here in this seat anymore, but a good opportunity for me and the new vice chair, Mike Athiard. So welcome, everyone. We will call this meeting to order at 6:03. Do I need to gavel?
If you want.
We're starting this meeting at 6:03 tonight. And the first thing we will do is do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda, we have roll call.
Thank you. Chair Fry,
Present.
Vice Chair Akiardi,
Present.
Eric Lawson,
Here.
Jacqueline Hunt,
Present.
David Amanor,
Present.
Anis Zaman,
Present.
and
And I have
Anna.
some sad news to share that Amy has resigned from the BDC and officially resigned, but 2 days ago, she sent a resignation letter, and I just told her we were very sad to see her go, but understand with competing business demands and I think it's okay to share this. And also being a small business owner, it was challenging for her to be here and have so many feelings about being a small business owner, trying to stay alive in North Plains. So I just told her we really appreciated her, and she's very sad that she resigned early and will felt a lot of regrets, but I told her we were very happy to have her for the past 2 years. So we now, Lori, that means we are going to have another vacant position.
We're trying to get
Yes.
Alice set up.
So, right, so what we'll do is kind of post the notice that you have a vacancy, and then we'll accept applications. And then we'll come back to you in your next meeting, in March with those applications and interview, and you can, go through the process again.
All right.
Maybe a comment, Amy filled a spot of a business owner. And so that is, if I recall back to our charter, not a requirement, but we wanted to
Goal.
have business representation.
It is,
So
yes.
I think that's important to consider, as there may be a lot of qualified candidates, but that was a perspective that we would otherwise be missing.
So you guys can reach out to local business owners and try and wrangle one or two to apply.
Yep, so please talk to people you know and tell them the position is open and how fun we are.
Lori, when would the posting close? Is it a 30-day?
I don't think we have a set time. It's usually a 30,
That's okay. I can project.
oh no. I pulled this out just. for that
So
reason.
because you meet monthly, it'll probably be 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that depends on if we get applications. But the main thing is with a monthly rhythm to your meetings, there'll be at least 3 weeks' time for people to apply. Council by code has to do it in a 2-week period, but since you're monthly, we have extra time, with the expectation that the March meeting would be your, to meet those people. Thank you.
As part of roll call, I need to say welcome to our ex officio tonight. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Don Weber, a relatively new council member, but been in North Plains for quite a while now, 5 or 6 years, which for me seems like a long time. Moved here to help take care of grandkids, so I was excited to come tonight because I got out of helping with bath time and walking the dog. So Great to be here. Katie was originally gonna be here, but she had some other stuff she had to take care of, so it's great to be here. I've been here before, so excited to be supportive of all this, so thank you.
Thanks for being here. And given
We have a new member.
Oh, yes, sorry, let me not, okay, and a new member. Thank you so much for being here. This is Anis's first time here, so thank you so much for being here. As part of our meeting last month that we did the interview and voted to recommend you to the city council. And how did it go at city council?
Thank you.
Well, good. Oh, welcome. And also we have a guest speaker today, Rowan. Welcome.
I believe most of you are familiar with me. I'm Ron Myrano, City of North Plains Assistant Planner.
And we will come to our agenda, but Rowan, I believe, are you on, is your portion of the grant force program update, extension update?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right, public comment. Is there any public comment that was submitted for tonight?
Didn't receive anything prior to the meeting.
Okay, well, I see we actually have an audience tonight. Welcome. Did you want to make any public comment tonight or just here as a visitor?
Just here as a local business owner and enjoying the progress everybody's been making, just here to observe and learn.
And how are the trees at your property? It's.
Yeah.
It's a project, we planted some trees a few years.
Yeah, for the new,
Very good.
Good.
Probably got it under 40,000 today.
On a different property,
she meant the ones that they planted,
at
yeah.
the food cart.
Down a block or two, we dug a few more today.
Oh, my
All right.
goodness.
Okay, great. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be.
All right, I think the next thing we will do is review and approve the meetings from last month on our agenda. So quickly, I really like that Eric did a quick review of what we had done last month. So quickly, we were all present at the, we were missing David. For the month, we talked about the, we had to do nominations for the year. And that is how I ended up here. So Eric, we miss you as the chair, but Mike and I now have a chance to be chair and co-chair. We also, we briefly talked about the passport program, but said we would follow up this month, and we will, if you don't mind doing a follow, Jackie, when we get to that section. And then we discussed the grant program expansion. I know Rowan is, has more to share with us tonight, but at least Bill gave us kind of a high level, some ideas, and to get our brainstorming, and our ex officio, Mayor Dunbrow asked us to think of ideas, even if they're outside of the box. That no idea is too big, just come with ideas. And we, I extended the challenge to come back to EDC with some ideas from other cities about what they've done with grant program. And we had a brief update on the Glencoe, the downtown and the Glencoe Corridor Business Associations, and that they were going to be meeting in between, and that did happen. And then we reviewed our applications for the EDC vacancy, and that's how Anissa is now here as our new member. And then we talked about guest speaker planning, and maybe we can revisit that at the end of this meeting and just see if we have anything solidified for the next few months, which I believe we do. At least have a few. And finally, Mayor Dunbrow gave us several challenges to think about as an EDC. And I don't want to lose sight of these, so let's make sure that we somehow bring these back up instead of just letting them wilt away on the January agenda. And that was the majority of our meeting last month. All right, any comments on the minutes?
Just a heads up, when I reviewed the minutes of meeting, I found that it needs some clarification about the work history of mine. So it was some minor language issues, so I emailed to Lori to make some correction, and she just corrected that I worked in Sunrise Water Authority located in Happy Valley, not that I worked with both the organization. Yeah, so she made the correction. Thank you.
So if they're approved tonight, they will be approved with his correction in my wording of his previous work at Happy Valley.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
I second.
all right, thank you. The minutes are approved from last month.
Oh, you need to ask.
Oh, is there any objections? All in favor? Aye. All
Any-
opposed? Hearing none, the minutes from last month are approved.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to unfinished business, and we tried to time cap these a little bit, given we have quite a few topics tonight. So the first unfinished business item I put on here is something we've been working on and I don't want to look away, is the business survey of the
Yeah,
year.
I can keep it within the 2 minutes allotted. Start the timer. Long story short, I've just been dragging my feet on meeting with Bill to figure out the email situation of it going out with the North Plains EDC kind of GRP email. So I need to just get that sorted out with Bill. Alternatively, I could just send it out via my personal email. I think there is a way to send it through Qualtrics with more of a generic email. However, I think we wanted it to come from the group mailbox, so I'll get with Bill, get that sorted out. The survey is loaded into Qualtrics, which is just the online platform we would use to gather data, so it just needs to be linked and sent out, and we'll be good to go there.
All right, so next step is to meet with Bill.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'll meet with Bill before next month.
Actually,
Uh-oh.
let's talk about it because the city is actually going to be moving over to a new IT company starting March 1st.
Okay,
Actually, technically, we're going to be onboarding and changing things over in February.
yeah,
So what I'm thinking is we talk about it this month and then we have it ready for March launch because I would rather launch this with the new company in place
right.
rather than add this to the pile of transition stuff.
Okay, I have all the verbiage written up and everything's pretty good to go. It's just the technicalities of it, so. Okay, so March meeting. I don't know what date our meeting would be on, but if it's, maybe a week into March, we might have already sorted it out.
It's exactly 4 weeks from now.
Okay, it's probably not. So it'll probably be following our March meeting that we'll get it sorted and sent out.
March 4th.
Yeah,
May the,
It'll be a special meeting.
May the 4th.
you want to plan it for then or? No. Yeah, March, we switched to them the 1st of March, is that right? Or it's a.
They have begun, we've begun onboarding in February. We've started with them already, but February will be all the transition from the current company that we're leaving.
All right, so we want to put it on the April agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I can touch base in March more informally. I think I went past my 2 minutes, sorry.
That's a good update. Thank you, Eric and Bill and board. All right, passport program update. Jackie, would you mind doing this one?
Yeah, so as a reminder, the passport program is an initiative to drive local business around seasonal events. Some local business owners have modeled that for Christmas, and we wanted to expand on that. Based on market research, it looked like it was very common that it was led from Chamber of Commerce. Lisa and I did meet with Cindy, who in her vast experience has run a program like this in the past. She thinks there will be good support in what she'd like to see, assuming that it's okay with the chair and the chamber, is that they would form a small work group that would give direction and partner with us. And so our next step is to meet with that group next Wednesday, to keep, develop the idea, and I think we're still hoping to have a spring offering.
Like a new today. Yeah, just anecdotally, Cindy said maybe 20 years ago. I don't know how many, a long time ago, they did a passport type program.
Really?
Yeah, where actually they were thinking like kids could just come in and get a sticker, or, you know, something like that, something very basic that just brought people into businesses, and she said it was quite successful. Maybe not that long ago.
Before
but it's been-
before QR codes. and
Yes, and it still works.
Scholars maintain, and it was 20 years ago.
Please consider adding the police to that, because they love to give out stickers, and nobody ever comes to visit
And
us.
then we said the library should be on there for sure.
Yeah.
So good idea.
Okay, between the two, I was able to steal a couple minutes from Jacqueline, so we're tracking to.
Okay. All right, moving on to item C then, the grant program expansion update. I see they only gave you a 3 minutes.
Yeah, she already said she's gonna blow that up.
I am going to attempt to keep this brief. There's first off, thank you for having me tonight. It's been a while since I've been with this group. I always enjoy convening with you guys. And I'm happy to be working more on URA projects in 2026 and working on economic development. As I was saying, there is a lot of information in this slide deck. I will provide this to you after the fact. I'm gonna be a little bit brief with it tonight. Doesn't help us keep on time. But we are going to go over some targeted grant program opportunities for downtown North Plains to activate downtown and encourage business investment. So Bill, if you would.
Yeah.
So starting off with what can Urban Renewal Fund, specifically our Urban Renewal Plan calls out 4 types of planning and development assistance under the Urban Renewal projects. These are under item 5F. We have rehabilitation and redevelopment grants or loans, new development grants or loans, technical assistance, and commercial facade improvement loans. And then we have our downtown focus area. The urban renewal area includes the Glencoe corridor, commercial corridor, and a large portion of the east area of North Plains. If we focus on the downtown area as identified in the North Plains Downtown Improvement Plan, which this body was fairly heavily involved in, we're looking at sort of 2 sets of circumstances here. Our opportunities being historic character. We have lots of great established businesses that are currently investing in downtown and are compelled to, you know, continue that investment and motivated. We have a small downtown that can make these projects easier. We don't have a sprawling area to try and encompass in these programs. And we have a downtown improvement plan that was adopted less than 2 years ago. That's a really recent document that we can rely on. Some of our constraints or maybe our areas where we need to think more creatively. We do have some buildings that are either poorly maintained or have not been maintained for traditional downtown uses. We have a lot of small parcels. That's not something that lends itself to new development, and it doesn't make redevelopment easy, that's for sure. And then we have a great downtown improvement plan. We've only done small sections of adoption of the standards in those. So there's a lot of work to be done to fully implement that plan.
I just real quick, if you don't
Yes.
mind going back, I just want to know, like, for the group, how easy it is for an opportunity to turn into a constraint. So like, it's almost 2 sides of the same coin with same corn. Historic character kind of turns into poorly maintained buildings pretty easily. The compact footprint is because of the small parcels of the land. The established businesses can sometimes be part of the maintenance problem too, because they've been around and not feel the need to keep up with their maintenance. So just something for this group, like we try to balance as we go.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that we have a lot of elements of our downtown that can be finely tuned into either being a opportunity or a setback. So we'll start off with a brief introduction to 3 potential programs that are used widely across the state, and how we can tailor those to North Plains. So that's firstly going to be a pre-development grant. Right at the beginning of the process, these assist property owners, businesses in determining opportunities and constraints, site development patterns, where opportunities might exist for increased capacity or business reimagining. And then the associated cost as well to figure out what's feasible for that business owner to do, or what outside funding they might need to seek in order to make something happen. And then facade improvement loans, pretty much what it says on the box, taking URA funds and applying those to that aesthetic facade of any of our downtown buildings, bringing them up to standard. We did adopt design standards from the downtown improvement plan, so we can help those buildings meet those design standards, and we can do some mitigation of any structural issues that might arise from facades not being properly maintained as well. And then building improvements, that's a really broad category, but we typically focus on fire and life safety, code, bringing buildings up to code, and then making sure that buildings are suitable for the businesses that are wanting to locate in them or already located in them. And we typically are going to limit these for urban renewal projects to things that expand the size or scope of associated, businesses and are a investment in the economic vitality of that. So things just like paint or new flooring are maybe not going to be building improvements. Things like double glazed windows, replacing windows that were put in the 40s or 50s, fire sprinkler systems, that's going to be more along that line. If you would. Okay, a little bit of more data about each of these, just so you can get your heads around this. Pre-development is usually a $1,000 to $5,000 award. And these are short-term projects, 1 to 3 months, bringing in a consultant to do this work for a business or a property owner, and getting results really quickly. Some great examples of this, just down the street in Beaverton, they have a very strong pre-development grant program. They actually use multiple levels of that program, everything from sort of quick $1,000 grants to what they call their catalytic ones. So any project that's going to really change a block or an area, they give a little more funding to. Lincoln City has a similar program, more of a one level. They don't have so much stratification. And Milwaukee, also a very similar program to Lincoln City's. Facade improvement loans, you'll notice I've not used the word grant with respect to facade improvement, and that's a holdover from our urban renewal plan, specifically calls for facade improvement loans and not grants. These are typically going to be at $2,500 to $20,000, depending on the size of the renewal agency and the focus. Typically takes a little bit longer because we are getting into contractors and making sure we're in the building season to do a lot of this work. 3 to 6 months is pretty common. Some great examples, really just down the road, Forest Grove has a very successful storefront improvement program. Redmond, also a small downtown, has a great facade rehabilitation program. And Lincoln City, you'll see Lincoln City come up several times. They have a very robust grant program. And I've referenced their programs a lot in finding good starting points for this group. Yes, Eric?
Is Lincoln City specifically a loan program and then the first two were grants?
Yes, Lincoln City is a loan program. The other two are grants.
So we could learn more from them potentially. Just
Precisely.
Sure, okay.
Precisely. Do it. And then building improvements. This is where we see the most variety in how these. Yes, yes, David.
The timeline, if you go back to the previous.
Yes, Bill. Yes.
The 3 to 6 months, is that the period for the loan to be paid back?
No, that's for expectation of about how long it takes for the project to be completed, for us to see results. We fund it and then we would expect them to.
I thought it was the period
Yeah,
for.
yeah, that is not a repayment period, no. Thank you. So building improvements, this is where we get into a lot more variety. I've listed the funding amount at 10 to 50,000. This can go up to, I have seen up to, I believe, 150,000 from small to mid-sized cities. So a lot more variety in this one. A little bit longer timeline, or 3 to 9 months. This could realistically for large catalytic projects, sometimes 12 to 24 months if it's a phased project. And some great programs, Beaverton as well, Forest Grove, very successful program for them. And downtown Corvallis actually has a revolving loan fund. So they have a set amount and they revolve that loan over different recipients to keep that investment flowing in their downtown.
Quick question. Is there any requirement on grants, whether they're matching or whether you just get the money?
There is not a requirement in our urban renewal plan that I am aware of that we have to give matching grants at any specific level. Yes, Jack.
Is there the opportunity to pair a facade loan with a building improvement? So if I'm Miss Kim and I don't, it would be a big incentive to get a loan to help me with things like my windows and other improvements, and I might feel a little bit more like matching to then make some facade investments as part of a joint project. Is that possible?
Yes, there is nothing on the administrative side or in the urban renewal plan that would prohibit that I'm aware of.
I might also point out that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the language in the urban renewal plan is that it has to be a loan, but it doesn't say it can't be a forgivable or partly forgivable loan.
Those are the best kind.
0%, partially or fully forgiven.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where, based on what your, how the payments are amortized over a 10-year period or whatever, if you keep up your payments for 2 years, some certain amounts knocked off or something.
I also wonder about what support we could provide to let businesses think through the tax benefits of various things to position their investments, whether matching or loans, to be most advantageous to their business.
And that may be part of a technical assistance pre-development grant, where they could bring in a consultant to help them understand how they can build their funding stack to best suit their business.
And this loan, is this specific to small business owners only, or in the property? Because I see assist property and business owners. If I have a property, I'm not a business owner.
Yep. So this could be awarded to property owners or business owners. So this is the part where you guys get to have a little more fun. I'm gonna come back off my yapping at you about numbers and who can have what. These are 3 targets that we've heard a lot from city council, from community members, on what we want to focus on for our downtown. Number 1 being historic preservation. We don't have a huge bulk of historic buildings or features downtown that have been well preserved. That's something we want to focus on, and all 3, redevelopment, facade improvement, and building improvement, can help with these. Business retention is something I imagine is quite near and dear to your hearts, especially seeing the state of the economy recently. Pre-development is a great tool for that, helping our business owners figure out exactly how they can expand or at the very least maintain their levels of business. And building improvement as well. We see it often throughout the state that businesses get hit with fire life safety improvements, with code violations, things that they aren't fiscally prepared to address. This can help out a business in that case. And then visitor friendliness. So downtown right now, we're working with a pretty legacy automobile design downtown. Things like facade improvements can help draw people in. They improve the streetscape, and building improvements can help people want to stay inside a business longer and feel safe and comfortable being there. And with that, I would love to hear you guys discuss what your targets are, what your thoughts are. If you've got any out of the box ideas, as you were saying earlier, we'd love to hear them.
One thing in your first slide, you talked about the technical assistance, that money can be spent on it. What kind of technical assistance are,
So.
any example?
Yeah, technical assistance can look like a variety of things for business and property owners. It can start off from everything from a property owner just trying to figure out what type of building or renovation or business can come to their property. All the way up to a business, take an example, a restaurant that exists is trying to figure out how they can expand their hours, improve their building, add an outdoor dining space, or do an addition to their building to add more cold storage. All of that can be covered by a consultant coming in and providing that information through technical assistance.
If I could, thank you, Ron. If I could add to that, let me give a very specific example in North Plains, okay? We had somebody who bought a property that had serious site problems with, it was a nuisance. And they bought it with the plan of opening a store inside, but they had to clean it up, and they budgeted without planning and doing due diligence on the site and what kind of improvement, all the things that if you really are good at running a type of business, you don't think about, because it's building and site and planning and engineering. And they budgeted a little over $70,000 in cleanup and site parking lot improvements and everything. The total cost ended up being over $178,000 because they just didn't, that's not their background, and they didn't think to hire somebody to look at that. So having a grant like that, having a technical assistance grant up front lets somebody who knows they aren't aware of those things, and they can kind of get some information up front to make a decision, or come to the city about, we have this great opportunity, but we have some extraordinary expenses, and maybe that lets us know with independent help to say, you know what, we need to line you up with this other grant program or loan program we have. Thank you for going through the process with this technical assistance grant, because we can work off the same page.
Thank you.
Question on these different programs that you presented. You said this is part of our URA. So are these ready to go if someone were to come and ask for one of these, or do we need some work before they're available?
So these are still in the visioning phase. So with the background that I've done, I've brought to you, these are what we believe to be the three most viable options for grants. Feedback that you provide will then be incorporated into our findings, and then we will go to the URA board for further input and eventually authorization of new programs.
Oh, so at the moment they are proposals, right?
Proposals, yes.
So is any of this grant or the loan can be taken by the business organization, or it has to be individual business owner?
Could you repeat your question?
Like any of these three, grant or the loan, can it be taken or can it be availed by any business organization like Chamber of Commerce, or like a business, group of business entity, or it has to be the individual business owner that has to avail this one?
So can the grants be obtained by business organizations?
Yeah.
Yes. I think that would be determined ultimately by the grant rules, which would be set by the URA board and staff. I do not believe there's anything in our urban renewal plan that would prohibit us from awarding it to an organization that's doing work for a property owner or a business or a group of businesses.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, thank you.
at the end of the day, though, to be clear, the money has to be used in service of planning and seeing improvements to property. And so if it is a business entity or a group that's helping a property owner, at the end of the day, it's still kind of helping that property or that business, because it has to be improvements to the property that result, is the idea.
Thank you.
So this isn't our first go around with URA funding. Were programs like this previously available, or is this a different take on how we're using URA dollars?
This would, great question. So we have an existing new food service tenant improvement program. This would be an expansion of that. Now, it would be an expansion in terms of the menu or options that the city's urban renewal agency has to assist property owners or businesses interested in operating in North Plains, in our downtown or on Glencoe. But having said that, the budget for all of this is just property improvement programs budget. So in the budget, it doesn't say food service, new food service tenant improvement program, here's how much money that is budgeted for that. It's more broadly labeled property improvement assistance. So we have a, you know, we have a kind of a larger palette of opportunity, but we just only have one program at this point.
Okay, thank you. I think what I'm thinking about, and it would be helpful to know exactly how we can be helpful. Like, is it just, this is the proposal that we're bringing forward? Is there any feedback you have from this group? I could totally limit my comments. I'm certainly thinking about, okay, there are X amount of businesses. Some are more or less in need of some of these, I would say, as a citizen who's lived here and think about things like visitor friendliness and my likelihood to come back, et cetera. So my personal perspective is, you know, you could almost rank order the ones that might most optimize the goals here. And do we have a plan to, knowing what we know about these businesses, approach and sit down and think through the options? Like, what's the way to match need to opportunity? And if that's beyond the scope of us, you know, the feedback you're looking for or the role of the EDC, I can withdraw my question.
No, it's a great question. So, in more higher elevation, more broadly, it is the charge of this body to provide recommendations to city council, the URA board, on new programs, the rationale for them, and recommended priorities for how that, you know, how that's done. So this is all within your scope, okay? Now, having said that, I guess what I would say is, and then that's a conversation for you all to have, really, is we have all these different types of program types that can be taken on by the URA. We have budget for it. There's work to do to figure out what to do and then put together specific programs to recommend for council to give the thumbs up to. But at the end of the day, what has to be remembered is we're looking for programs that help foster new improvements to underutilized properties or help properties that have high cost obstacles to, you know, that have kept business being able to work or the property to be a viable commercial property. What we're not looking to do is subsidize people's choice to defer maintenance. We want to, you know what I mean? Like if a business, if a property owner that doesn't live here owns a property and they've just been letting the property decline, but take the rent from the business in it, we're not looking to enable that or remedy that. But if we have a historic property that it's extraordinarily expensive to fix the roof so that commercial operations can happen in that beautiful historic building, that's a different thing. So that's what, you know, each program kind of has to look at the specifics of the situation. But at the end of the day, we don't want to pay for people's active choice just to defer maintenance, to subsidize that. What we want to do is help people who want to improve and want to expand. That's what we want to help. And that's kind of what the urban renewal plan is about.
I mean, I may be applying business principles inappropriately here, but if this were a capital fund and we have limited dollars and we were trying to get the most value, we would sit down with every single business owner, talk through this, how it applies to them, get their ideas, and then rank that against the principles that you are talking about to get a portfolio that would best meet the needs against clear criteria that is assuring that we're thinking equitably and aligning goals. I don't know that we have a function in here who would be in charge of developing, interviewing, ranking in an equitable way to then bring back opportunity.
I'm gonna add on to that, similar thoughts about, instead of us just deciding, what sounds good? We should really figure out what is needed and what will attract more customers, more business to our URA area and increase their revenue. And we really should do that and then figure out what the right programs are.
Just for clarification, I was looking at the budget, is that looks like there's 250,000 in the budget for downtown improvement projects for the 2-year.
I wouldn't specifically say downtown, the whole district. So.
It says
so-
downtown improvement projects on the line.
Oh, sorry. That line item was specifically more for kind of capital improvements that the downtown plan calls for, like if the urban renewal agency wanted to pull the trigger on street furniture and this and that, that's what that was for. It should be property improvement grants is the line item in the budget. So I guess my higher elevation answer is it is the charge of this body to advise city council on on what and how and why. And then it's up to them to decide, oh, that's great, we'd like to do that, or send it back for more work. So if this body would like to discuss and work on kind of a rubric or a methodology for how to think about this before getting into the details of programs, you're welcome to do that.
It sounds like a potential subcommittee.
I guess the main thing is I think what staff were trying to do and all the work that, kind of the homework Rowan did on this is we have one program and it's modeled after what, a similar program in Beaverton and Hillsborough. And it's had some success for North Plains, but we have a lot of other different types of businesses and properties in town. And so we're past time giving broader thought to strategy for how to do more and differently.
Well, to that program's credit, though, it was essentially birthed out of the need for that specific program. So I think that's kind of what Lisa's saying, like, we almost need to reverse engineer of what's the need, and then we get into the program that would fit that need. But kind of the other side of that is starting broad with programs and then identifying the need and advocating for that need in an equitable way. But then I also recognize at a certain point, you're rewarding businesses or you're bailing out businesses that potentially have not been the kindest to their buildings and their tenants and whatnot, so. Anywho.
What is the role of the URA versus us as far as developing frameworks and making decisions and execution versus, say, the city? If you could clarify those roles, because I wouldn't think that we would be developing the framework for this.
So
Maybe advising, but I don't think you're asking us to develop the URA decision-making protocol.
it is to this body to advise city council on taking new or different actions. And so under that very broad umbrella, that is for you to think about and potentially work on and communicate to city council. We understand you're getting different queries of interest in grants to help properties. But there is right now lacking any systematic thought and organization for new programs. And so we're going to do some homework on that and come back to you. Like, that's okay. Because they don't have the time to do it. They have all kinds of other things. I mean, this is getting into the weeds of this is the value of having an EDC. Now, the URA board is a separate, technically legal entity from the city of North Plains. It's related, but it's technically separate. And the reason it's legally separate at the end of the day is because the URA board has the legal authority to spend the tax revenue of other agencies, because urban renewal money, the funds that go into the urban renewal agency to the benefit of parts of the city are actually tax revenue deferred or given to the city from other taxing districts, including the city's general fund, a very small amount, relatively speaking. But the URA board is responsible for making money spending decisions using other agencies' money that they've agreed to let the city use. For that reason, the URA board is the city council. But when they have a meeting, when they make decisions, they're a different entity with different hats on, technically legally. their job is to make money spending decisions and then, goals, objectives, and then the programs to carry that out. This body can advise on those things. I mean, they want to be making good decisions that are effective in helping the built environment and helping the economy. And that's clearly something you all can do homework on and help with.
So just to play that forward, if this body, not saying that we did decided, that we did have a recommendation that we'd like to have meetings with specific business owners, a portfolio of opportunity ranked against the goals put forward. Would that, do you think, require technical assistance, or does your team have capacity to do that? Cause I don't see any other resource. Would inherent in that be an ask that the first technical resource investment be to enabling that kind of thoughtful approach?
Well, to start, you're a staff, or myself and Bill, and that's our team. So, we have limited capacity. That said, we put together the background information that you're seeing today, and that's all based off of what other URAs already do. So that's a great launch pad for you all, and I can provide a lot more background than what I've provided in this PowerPoint. There's a lot of documents that are behind this. That said, if you guys want to form a subcommittee, do outreach, there's certain levels of technical assistance that can be provided in-house. Now, if we wanted to do things like holding stakeholder interviews that are going to be recorded with professional minutes taken, if we want to do a large survey in addition to the other survey that you had, if you want to do things like a big group meeting, those may require additional funding that is and staff capacity that isn't already baked into what the URA has. I'm not sure exactly what funding looks like. That's Bill's area of expertise. I'll let him speak on it. But we can support you in helping to get that work done, and then having your body provide feedback back to staff to further iterate.
Okay, so let me add a completely different layer to all of this, sorry. So, no, it's okay. But I guess the short answer is staff can enthusiastically help as much as possible, given the situation. But at the same time, there is an entity, the Oregon Economic Development Association used to be, combined with the Oregon Association of Renewal Agencies. Like, there's a statewide organization that does this, that kind of is a resource for cities in their urban renewal agencies. Every 4 or 5 years, they publish a brand new best practices book on urban renewal, from starting one to amending one to running one, different programs, examples of good projects, bad projects, all that. I mean, and that exists out there, the older version of it. The consultant to the city that is working with us on a plan or changing the urban renewal plan to eliminate the 20-year sunset date on the plan, on the district, on the agency. She's the one that primarily writes that document with that entity. So there are resources available that we can go to, that you can go to, and just kind of get info, and then, take a look at it.
Thank you both. I think my specific question buried in there was, can these technical funds, in the category of the technical funds, be used to develop a portfolio of opportunities with local businesses and develop a framework to assist in ranking those against these? Could those funds be used to augment the resources to accomplish that task? If I think it's beyond the scope of this volunteer organization and beyond the scope of you two,
Yeah.
could a grant be used to fund that piece of, not meetings like go talk to people, develop the portfolio, recommend ranking, get feedback.
Hire a consultant to do it, is what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes. Could these funds be used to hire a consultant to do it?
The URA has the URA has professional services budget to do certain studies. Including, so right now, so actually there is a consultant that spoke to the URA, on Monday night. And he came to kind of just talk about the North Plains Urban Renewal Agency, the board, city council, are gonna move forward with a 5-year strategic plan for the urban renewal agency, just kind of figure out what needs to be done in the next 5 years, prioritize it with some background info. And we'll be moving forward with that. But a consultant came on Monday night just to kind of talk to council with some experience about, in a 5-year plan, you don't want to just be looking at amend the plan, update regulations and this, that, and the other. All important, super important. That's the governance part. But what he did come to talk about was, you should also be recommending and suggesting he's a consultant, but you should be also looking at things like the dollar side of things, the feasibility of what are the opportunities? What are the properties in your district? What's the likelihood or the opportunity for different efforts to facilitate redevelopment, facilitate improvements? What kind of sectors do you have? What kind of sectors make sense to think about attracting here with certain types of urban renewal agency investments? So the dollar stuff. That's what he does. We haven't talked about him assisting very specifically with brand new programs, but the URA has budget to pay for technical professional assistance on this sort of thing. And that is very close and tangent to what he suggested to the board on Monday night, shouldn't be forgotten in the other efforts that the agency does. So on the cusp of that, yes.
Just one thought on that. I'm involved in the URA. I'm going to be for the following year, the chair. I think, Jacqueline, you bring up some really good points, which we've got to make sure we're all kind of on the same wavelength. So one group isn't frustrated. Oh, I didn't know you were doing that. We want to do this. You want to do that. I think at some point, this is very productive, this conversation, but we'd want to have a follow-up, some kind of joint meeting and just discuss what does the URA think its role is going to be? How do we bring Rowan into this? How do we bring in the Economic Commission to it? And the other question is too, Bill has found some really good professional consultants, and what role would they also play, right? And just how do we do this together? So I think this is a really good start, wonderful energy, but I totally agree. At some point, let's all sit down and make sure we don't end up with some level of frustration. So thank you for working on it.
Thanks, Rowan.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Rowan. And I know but how about we table the brainstorming or ideas that we gathered to next time, just based on time tonight. And so take everything we've learned today, your thoughts, and then come back with maybe some concrete examples or thoughts about what we might want to suggest for next steps or for.
So can you share the slides with the commission?
Absolutely. Those will be sent out tomorrow.
All right, okay, moving on to Downtown Associations update. What are you planning to give an update? I was at one of the meetings, so I can get some commentary, but do one of you have something planned?
I haven't had much more contact with the prospective board members past that meeting. I think you're more than able to give a summary to this body.
All right, but chime in, because what I participated in was a meeting that Rowan painstakingly organized to try to get people together, some of the businesses in the downtown corridor on Marshall. And we were able to meet for an hour, and Rowan essentially did an overview of what is the definition of downtown, and trying to solicit some feedback for what are our boundaries, which, to jump to the conclusion, is it seems like there's consensus to try to make it as large as we can, to go all the way from, I believe, the coffee roasters, if we can, down to past the food carts and to Glencoe. So we talked about what is the definition and what does an association look like and what are the requirements of an association, including establishing nonprofit, electing officers to that and having at least 7 participating members. So that it was basically a lot of it educational, and then there were some of the businesses contribute ideas of things they want to do, like a Thursday night market, and try to launch that at least once this or twice this year, I think is what they were talking about, and try that as an experiment. And the next steps would be to then officially create a downtown association with the members, with the nonprofit, the 501(c)(3). And then essentially it's up to the businesses downtown to do. Is that a fair summary?
Essentially, yes, the downtown business owners have to decide what is downtown. They have to decide how they're gonna represent themselves. They have to do the work of representing themselves. And then, one thing I will highlight, the huge advantage of having an independent downtown association versus just representing them through urban renewal or the city is that they can then apply for the program Oregon Main Street, which is part of Main Street America, at the affiliated level. And that gives them access to a large pool of resources, a big community of downtowns, and access to trainings, access to technical assistance, access to funding pools that they don't have access to right now because they're not represented.
So now the next step is for them to try to self-organize and get that off the ground. And Rome, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I know you had mentioned that Chris Barron, our former vice chair, he had set up a 501(c). Is it a requirement? Do we need to use that organization, or could they just create a brand new one?
Oh, could you repeat?
The 501(c), the nonprofit.
Yes.
So like I said, so Barron had set one up to try to get this off the ground. Is the idea that they would use that existing organization, or could they just create their own?
The bylaws that were previously written. So those will be provided to those prospective board members. But ultimately they are an independent nonprofit from the city, and it'll be their decision on how to run their nonprofit.
Okay, so they could do a whole new from scratch if they want. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know that he filed a 501(c)(3). I think he just put bylaws together for when they
Yeah.
gather, they can file and they kind of have
Yeah.
plug and play bylaws.
Okay, got it.
So that'll be provided to that group, but ultimately it's their own nonprofit.
Okay. And one other thing that I took away from the businesses talking about what they want most, and I think it's more business, more people downtown, more opportunity for people to come into the businesses. Okay, so more to come, hopefully on that, next step. All right, moving on, new business. I do not want to go into this in depth, but I did want to bring up the fact that we had 2 subcommittees last year that I think we actually made a little bit of traction with. I don't know that we accomplished all of our goals, but we set goals and met as subcommittees on some specific topics that a big concern. So I don't know that we decide tonight unless someone has some burning ideas, but do we want to create new subcommittees for this year? And if so, what would the topics be? So first of all, do we want to create 2 new subcommittees this year?
The overall timeline of the Glencoe Opportunity Area in terms of getting the actual EPA grant in our hands and like dirt being moved, would it be beneficial to have a subcommittee focused on that opportunity area, or are we still a little too early and we should focus our efforts elsewhere?
We're kind of in federal funding land right now.
Okay, so we're gonna give it at least 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, just realistically speaking, well, and then how many shutdowns are we going to have between now and then too? So, impeding progress. So I think what we're assuming is that funds will be fully freed to reimburse cleanup activities or soil removal activities in 2027.
Okay.
So I don't think if you have a subcommittee for the Glencoe Opportunity Area, it's not going to be hard charge and active. Let's
Right.
put it that way.
So just based on that, I think it's probably good if we reevaluate. If we do want to do two subcommittees, doing either two new topics or at least putting that topic on the back burner for now and focusing our efforts on an additional, which by the way, we had 3 subcommittees.
Oh,
If-
You're right.
Yep, subcommittee
Eric
one.
was his own
Mhm.
little committee, if I recall.
Yes,
Yes, he was, party of
we
one.
were very productive. That's what I tell myself in the mirror every
Party
morning.
of one.
You are very productive and strong and handsome. Anyways, I think maybe we brainstorm one, I think the downtown subcommittee is still really valuable. But then maybe like a URA subcommittee that focuses on the program development too, might be something.
The activity that I recall preceding the subcommittee.
Can you speak into the
decision-
mic? You're so
The-
Hawaiian.
Probably hear you.
The.
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking back, I think we got to those subcommittees by starting with what our goals are, and I think that can be interactive, like there are areas where we know we need to do work, but and a subcommittee makes tons of sense, but let's reverse engineer the goal, or if we're not sure on what subcommittee. It doesn't have to be annual planning, like just in the next 6 months, what is it that we think we would be proud that we accomplished? And therefore a subcommittee would be charged to do that thing would help me. Cause I don't like signing up for subcommittees, but I'm all about achieving things. So I would just reframe it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think I concur with Jack. If we can have our programs, what our aims and goals for the year. Let's get that established. We
Okay.
can see the work groups we need to pursue those goals.
All right, and do we want to focus on next 6 months or just 2026? What are our goals? Maybe 2026.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so can we do that as a discussion next week or not next month?
And I'll just point out a survey would be really helpful.
I think that would be great.
We'll be talking about that in April.
Yes, it's gonna be a great subcommittee.
All right, I just wanted to mention that, so it sounds like we've got momentum to talk about that next month. So moving on to staff, council and planning comments and updates, a PAC meeting update of 3 minutes.
It's you.
That is me. So I represented the EDC at the first of the project advisory committee meetings, 2 weeks ago. And in that meeting, it kind of kicked off the UGB expansion phase where we are gonna look at the actual design phase of where we want to put certain things between commercial land, industrial land, residential, et cetera. So this meeting was really just kicking it off and explaining a bit how we got to the point we're at now. The actual committee is not a decision-making body. It is just advising, kind of the goal is to come to a consensus and or at least alignment on the path forward for the city that we can then take forward as a recommendation to city council regarding the UGB expansion. That's pretty much it at a high level. It involves, so there's 2 council members, Don's one of them that sits on this committee, as well as business owners, residents outside of North Plains, unincorporated North Plains, et cetera. So it's very similar to the past project advisory committees in terms of the like demographic that has been collected, but it's working in tandem with a lot of community engagement. So meeting with the community, Bill and Rowan doing a lot of that and collecting feedback that then gets kind of digested by this committee and helps guide along the way. Anything else, Bill and Rowan, you would highlight? Okay. So, I'm trying to represent the EDC well. I am looking at it through the lens of the EDC and not a personal opinion. So everything I'm trying to input is from an economic perspective of what would be best for the economies of the city. And Bill, I appreciated your clarification during the meeting that if someone is there representing a committee or commission and they have a, personal opinion, they need to specify that and clarify that before providing that input, which is helpful for everyone.
Yeah, no problem. I guess the flip side of that is this is the place for this body to say, hey, Eric, what about this? Or we're concerned about that, or
Definitely.
So.
And my message has been like fairly consistent. I mean, this has been an ongoing process for years. And so, just to remind everyone, if you try to picture, the city on a map, the expansion to the northwest, so around the reservoir, is where we are, suggesting most of the residential development happens, because then you're tying into the city center and downtown. And then most of the industrial or commercial land would be on the east side off of Jackson School Road, so that you have industrial and commercial right off the highway of 26. And then that kind of blends into residential that ties into the existing neighborhood around Atfalati and whatnot. And then some commercial along Commercial Street to kind of try to tie the two neighborhoods on the east and the west side together. So it's very like general feedback, but it's what we've talked about before, especially when it was a larger UGB expansion situation.
And Eric, the discussions, was it a continuation of the previous discussions or a reset?
It was a continuation in that we're now moving into the actual design phase where we are talking about specifically where we want residential land to be developed, commercial, industrial, et cetera. Before it was just sheer acreage and where within the map we would like to see things, and now it's actually getting into the weeds of the actual design planning process. And there's a lot of the same members, so there's good continuity there, at least, of people who have been there before and have been in those conversations. 3 minutes.
All right, yeah, I'm sure that was done. All right, any questions for Eric? All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to land use building permits. Anything that staff you want to share with us specifically on that?
Nothing to add.
Okay. I did want to ask, I saw briefly on the list that Great Master is doing something, and I asked because we had, I do not remember his name. He came to one of our meetings and spoke to us.
Yes, we did have a pre-application conference with Great Master back in July or August. Unfortunately, I've not heard back from them since then.
Okay, so nothing specific at this point.
They have not made any further applications or contact, unfortunately.
Yes, I cannot remember, does anybody remember his name? He came and just talked about some of the needs of businesses in town.
Do you remember what it was? Was it last year?
It's in a while.
I thought,
It
yeah,
was
the
last
year
I'm pretty sure it was last year. And he just talked about the fact that they would actually like more land, but they are constrained and cannot find more land to expand their business.
Yeah, he was on the relook committee.
Yeah.
And that was part of what he talked about was I think part of his message there was it doesn't have to be about trying to get new businesses to come to North Plains. It's about having places for existing business to even be able to expand. That was his, but he was on the relook and that was part of his.
All right, are we on to ex officio? All right, ex officio, anything you can share, any council?
No, big words from the council. You're doing great. It's good to be here. You're aware of kind of the big news in the city, the $1 million grant, the URA Energy there's a lot of URA energy now because the 20 years of 2006, 26 is ending, so there's this energy to extend it. So it's a real good time to get all this going, so thank you very much.
Does everyone know about the grant? Did everyone see
Which one?
the news about the $1 million?
We just have money coming and rolling in, so.
I know, sorry, whatever one you want to tell us about.
The USDA grants,
Oh, it is specifically where that one is from.
USDA rural,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah.
and I just know what I read about it, but do briefly in a sentence or two.
Yeah, no, so after waiting 2 years, Congress authorized $1 million for North Plains through USDA Rural Capital Projects funding. $1 million for the city's long-planned civic center project, which is basically new city. That was part of the downtown plan. It's actually one of the big projects in the urban renewal plan going back to 2006. So, I think what we're looking at now is, it's sort of like the EPA grant. We're selected for it, but we have to go through a application and documentation process to get those funds committed to us. So that's where we are with it. But we have some time, not a ton, but we have some time. And we'll be going through a process very soon to kind of the Civic Center project was designed, or space need was put together before the Kendall Public Services building became a reality. We don't need a police station in the Civic Center project because they prefer being at the Kendall building because of the secure parking and being able to get on the West Union quickly and get around town, among other things. So we need to go through kind of a redesign process, update, and then cost figures, and then we can move forward with whatever.
Thank you.
Costs are probably about the same since 2006, right?
Without it.
Just inflation.
Depends
is
on the
all.
contingency.
Yeah. We're good.
Inflation, pandemic.
Okay.
Lisa, excellent job. Just want to say, crushed it.
I had a good model. All right, Riley, commission, any final comments from members? Vice Chair?
Good job, Mike. Good job.
Chair, Chair, if I might,
Yes, please.
Chair Fry,
Oh,
Chair Fry,
yes.
if I might,
Yeah.
for your April meeting. Heads up.
Yes, yes. please.
Excuse me, March meeting. No, April meeting, sorry, the April meeting. Heads up, just so you know, and start thinking about questions. Dave Perula, who is the executive director for Visit Tualatin Valley. Did I say that correctly? I say it differently every time.
It's explored.
Explore Tualatin Valley, the visitor bureau, for Tualatin, Washington County. Will be here specifically to address bicycle tourism hub, all those things. But he's the executive director of the county's tourism bureau. So come armed with more questions than that.
Excellent. Oh, April meeting, correct? All right, so we've got a guest speaker. And maybe, like I said, let's not forget, we have a list of people we'd like to have come in, so let's not forget that we want to keep working on that. All right, if nothing else, adjourn the meeting at 6:15, is there?
7:15.
Or 7:15.
Yeah.
All right. 6:15.